Reynolds, and I am with the SBA Columbus District Office. And these webinar trainings are a partnership between the SBA, the Ohio Development Services Agency, which includes the PTAC statewide program, the Minority Business Assistance Center, and the Small Business Development Center. So while this training is focused on Beta.SAM and getting your business registered for the federal government, we have a lot of expertise on the call with us today. So if you had questions about the matchmaker, you can go ahead and ask that question through chat. We'll try and answer it in a where it's relevant. Like if Billy's like right in the middle of discussing Beta.SAM, we probably won't take a matchmaker question, but we'll see. But I'd like to introduce also Billy Grill. He will be doing the presentation today. And he is a Dayton PTAC program analyst and is very knowledgeable in government contracting. This is, I don't know, the 4th or 5th time we've had a Beta.SAM training this year, but it's just so new that we all feel that it's definitely timely to do them on a regular basis. But also, I am going to be here throughout the duration of the presentation. If you had any questions related to SBA programs, you can let me know. And also we have Sharon Hawkins. You can see her. She is the OU PTAC program director, very knowledgeable of the PTAC program. So any of you that have questions, we do recommend that you send them through the chat feature. So without further ado, Billy, would you like to introduce yourself and get us all started?
Sure. Billy Grill here. I'm with the Dayton PTAC. Not only am I a PTAC counselor, but I also have a small business myself. So using Beta.SAM is something that I've had the joy and pleasure of working with on a regular basis. What we hope to learn today is how to use the system, a general overview, but also some key points that I want to really send home. So with that, I will go ahead and get my presentation started. What we'll be looking at today is mostly the move of the contract opportunities, i.e. FBO, and the contract data section, i.e. FPDS, into Beta.SAM. Those seem to be the most used databases, but there are many more in the Beta.SAM system. It is really becoming your one-stop integrated award environment is what the GSA calls it. So our learning objectives today, we want to know what different systems Beta.SAM has, some basic search types, signing in and managing your data in your profile, and just some overall best practices. Before that, though, I really want to send home that the PTAC helps small businesses win prime contracts. Beta.SAM is the federal government's posting site. So this big blue piece of this circle is all federal contracts that PTAC has helped our clients win. So that's really what we'll be looking at today. What is this Beta.SAM integrated award environment? Well, really, it's a multitude of different legacy sites that they're moving into Beta.SAM. Now, this means that you're going to have different capabilities, including FBO and FPDS right here. Now, your SAM.gov modernization does have a timeline, and that timeline includes your SAM and your FPDS right here in the middle. So these two databases are now in the SAM.gov system. First, we're going to go through contract opportunities, which is the former federal business opportunities. Now, when they moved this over into Beta.SAM, there was a lot of consternation. There's still some adjustment to be done, but this is what we have. This is what we're working with, and they are making changes and adding features pretty regularly. So if you look at this drop down here, these are all the different databases that you're going to see in Beta.SAM. And actually, they just took the contract database back out of Beta.SAM, so there are continuous changes. But when looking at your sign-in, this is going to be the screen you see in order to really start working with the system. When you sign into Beta.SAM, you're going to use your login.gov sign-in. Now that is a double authentication that's required. So when you click sign in and you enter in your login.gov information, they will ask you to double authenticate with a security code. I usually do mine through text, but they do have them through browser or call. So there are different methods you can do that. Once you sign in, this is what you call My Workspace. And I highly suggest you do get a login.gov account and you do use it to sign in because it gives you some really helpful capabilities within the Beta.SAM system. As you can see here, when you're in your workspace, you can see downloads, which is basically the ability to download any search from the last 7 days. You can do save searches, and these are very helpful for when you're running the same criteria over and over. It will also give you a notification of when your search results have changed. And then your opportunities that you are following. When you're following opportunities, unfortunately, that list is sorted by contract number and not opportunity name. So when you're getting a lot of opportunities that you're following, sometimes it can be a little bit tedious to sort through those. Again, it's not the perfect solution, but it is what we have to work with. The thing I like about your save searches is that you can duplicate searches. Unfortunately, right now, for some of our more regional clients, we don't have the ability to search multiple states at the same time. So what's really helpful is the ability to duplicate that search and then change just the state in your search criteria so that you're getting the same results, just different locations by state. So that becomes pretty helpful when you're a regional company or if you're looking at just different locations based on your clients. There's also the ability to set up notifications and download your search results. Downloading your search results into Excel, I find is pretty helpful because it allows you to look at a large number of results without having to click through each one. Now this is the contract opportunities page. So when we get back to the regular Beta.SAM page, you'll see the contract opportunities drop down up here. And this is your old FBO database that it's looking through. Now, federal mandate is every opportunity has to be posted to Beta.SAM over $25,000. And even if it links to a site like FedConnect or DIBS, you have to at least have a posting on Beta.SAM. So this really is your authoritative data source for opportunities coming out of the federal government. That being said, there's different ways that you can search, and then there's also different things you can do with your search here. Again, whenever you run a search through your contract opportunities, if you're signed in, you'll have the save search function and the download function in your upper right-hand corner. These are helpful because you can download your search results and look through them and sort them in Excel. Makes it a little bit easier to manipulate the data. And you can also save your search once you get it honed into the opportunities you want to see. There's also this little red button right in the middle here that reveals a drop down to search for small business events. So that is something that we will look at here. When you're searching for small business events with this little red button, it's not very useful. So for some reason, when you just click on this link, and I'll show you in the demo, it comes up with the number 22 in front of the small business events. And that corrupts the results that you're going to see back. So when we do the demo, I will show you how to get around that little snafu that they have in there. Now the search box in Beta.SAM, pretty easy. It's pretty intuitive. It's just like any other search box. You can search by solicitation number, keywords, key phrases, and then you can also set some other criteria. The thing I like to do when searching Beta.SAM is going here in your top left corner and changing my search filters. The one thing that I like to add that I don't know why it's not a default, is their current default place of performance defaults to searching by zip code. I don't find that helpful at all. And so I always come in and change my filter to place of performance state. And that gives me a lot better return. And there's also other different search criteria. You don't have to use all of these criteria. Most of the times I'm searching the response date. I want to know when offers are due. I want to make sure that I'm not searching something that's due tomorrow. That also, it works with your small business events as well. You want to search events that are in the future, not in the past. I tend to use keywords a lot when I search. A good note to know when you're searching, know your client's lingo. Meaning if you're searching for something out of the U.S. Army Corps, you'll know that they usually abbreviate that US ACE, and then you can search it by district. And so that helps narrow down search results, because they are missing some capability still. For example, they don't have the ability to exclude keywords in your search yet, which is unfortunate, but it means you have to get creative when you're using the search function within Beta.SAM. Also, a side note, know your NAICS codes, your PSCs, your different company information. That is key going into this. And now here's what we see when we actually find an opportunity record. So I'll run through this with you briefly, and also just know that if you ever have any questions about the information in the record or how to search Beta.SAM, there is a local PTAC representative waiting to help. You know, we do this every day, so we can usually get you in the right place that you need to be. But if you look at the opportunity, you'll see the different categories of information. You have your general information, you have your classification, description, attachment, contact history, and etc. You'll notice that there's a follow tab right here. Because I'm signed in, you can actually follow the opportunity, and then you can get an immediate notification anytime that opportunity is updated. Looking at the solicitation record further, you can see that there's a lot of information here to take in. Another note is the interested vendor list here on your left-hand side. That says that I am an interested vendor in this opportunity. It makes my data available publicly to the interested vendors list attached to this opportunity. Now, you can only do that when you're signed in as well. A note there is that not every vendor that's interested will sign on to this list. Actually, most of the vendors that are either incumbents are very well aware of the opportunity before it's come out, will not sign on to this list because they don't want people to know that they're actually bidding, or at least the less people that know that they're bidding, the better, so that you can't do competitive research on them. So that list is by no means the end all be all. But if it's a client that may be outside of your purview a bit, and you may, be looking at potential teaming opportunities in order to better bid this opportunity, it may be a good resource for you. The View Changes button right here, that is basically viewing any changes made throughout the history of the opportunity. It's useful to know when they're posting amendments and different changes, what it may have been changed from. And then, of course, here's your core information, your original set aside, your product service code, NAICS codes, and your place of performance. You want to know if it's an 8A set aside, or if it's a total small business, or if it's a hub zone, because that's letting you know, A, can I bid this as a prime? B, can I bid this as a sub? And then how you want to form your team and your bid strategy to that opportunity. There's a lot more information on this solicitation record. It really runs through the whole federal record of this opportunity. And here's the most important part to me, is the download all solicitation files. I'm not interested in looking at just one file. I usually download them all because I don't want to potentially miss something like an amendment You know, a lot of times if you're looking at an opportunity, they'll have an industry day and you can pull down the industry day list. That has a sign-in sheet, and those sign-in sheets are full of names and contact information of other interested companies. So documentation like that that's included in the download all solicitation files is really important to developing your strategy and putting together your information. You'll note that there's always going to be a primary POC. That is usually the contracting officer. Now, a good bit of advice here is there is usually a Q&A section for every solicitation. If you have a question that is pointed to the solicitation, make sure you ask it during that Q&A session. Do not contact and market to the POC or the secondary POC while there's anything due. So if there's an RFI due, do not contact and market. If there's a solicitation due, do not contact and market. You will be disqualified from bidding on that solicitation. So that's a huge key point here to make sure you pay attention to when the Q&A periods are, and then if there's anything due. Now, outside of that, if there's no RFI on the street or no solicitation on the street, you know, feel free to communicate. But you definitely want to watch your P's and Q's when there's something due. There's some quick best practices here. I always say gather information beforehand. You have to know what you're looking for in order to find it. Utilize your resources. There's a lot of training resources that are available. I actually tend to think that the SAM.gov help. There's a lot of resources there for government contracting side. There's some there for the business search side. There's a great interact.gsa.gov. It's a message board type of website, and that gives you updates on what's coming to the integrated award environments. It also gives you some news and different things like that. My note to my clients is always target your sources sought and pre-solicitations first. If the first time you're seeing an opportunity, it's out for solicitation and it's due within a month, your P of win goes way down. You want the ability to talk to the client, to shape the opportunity, to build a team, and to put together your best effort in order to win that opportunity. Because even though the federal government has a lot of opportunity, the competition is always going to be very stiff. So I always say target sources sought and pre-solicitations. If you can get into your local small business offices, whether it's within DLA, HHS, they usually have solicitation or opportunity forecasts. So that's another way to get that information outside of Beta.SAM to get in front of even the sources sought. Again, you want to get as left of the solicitation as possible so that you can help to guide that solicitation process, hopefully, and put your best team together. And always contact your local PTAC representative. We're here every day to help you with exactly this kind of effort. And we also have our own market research tools and our own databases that we pay for, that gives us great information that we can share with our clients. So it's definitely a good move on your part to contact your local PTAC rep. Also, there's a lot of features and benefits that we all wish Beta.SAM has. There's a provide feedback button on almost every page. Use that button. Contact the integrated award environment folks and let them know that you would like to be able to exclude keywords. You know, you would like to be able to search more than one state at a time. They need to know what we need in order to make this platform work for everybody. It is an agile build, so they should be able to make changes fairly quickly once they know that that's what the populace needs. And there are upcoming improvements. I just mentioned one, the improved geographic search capabilities. Hopefully that's here soon. And they also have some options, hopefully, for filtering below sub-tier organizations. Right now, a sub-tier organization an example of that would be the Department of the Air Force. As you can tell, that's probably not going to narrow down your search very much. And then there's also a great link right here, the Interact GSA.gov blog. And they give you some helpful hints and some new and upcoming improvements. They haven't updated that in a little while, but hopefully they will soon. And now we're going to move into the contract data reports piece. So we're moving from contract opportunities, which are opportunities in the future, to contract data reports, which are opportunities from the past. This is where you do your market research. This is where you try to pull in data on expiring contracts that you may want to look at in the future. This is where you pull in some standard reporting and things of that nature. Right now, FPDS, their ad hoc reporting and their reports feature has been retired as of October 17th to Beta.SAM.gov. Now, what that means, it doesn't mean that FPDS is gone forever. Actually, they have taken the contract data feature back out of SAM and moved it back, well, and kept it at FPDS. So if you have a singular contract number that you'd like to do some research on, you can still go to FPDS and type in that contract number in their easy search and get results. But if you have some ad hoc reports that are custom to you, that has now all been migrated over to Beta.SAM. So basically, the FPDS contract data reports function includes your static reports, your standard reports, your ad hoc reports, and your admin reports. Now, your static reports are public, but your standard and ad hoc reports now need your sign-in through your login.gov account. As I mentioned, there was a migration recently. For users who created their ad hoc reports in FPDS before January 31st, those reports were converted into Beta.SAM.gov, and you can access them with your Beta.SAM.gov account. Now, if you created those reports after the 31st, then you will have to unfortunately redo those reports in Beta.SAM. That being said, I think it's an improvement from how they migrated FBO to Beta.SAM, so I think we are making progress. And then that note, of course, your individual contract data can still be found in the easy search capability at FPDS. I'll go through the ad hoc reporting briefly. Again, you're going to find this for more of your advanced user. Quite frankly, I tend to use USA.Spending.gov more in my market research these days than Beta.SAM, just because I like their user interface and I like their availability of data better. But if you look here in their ad hoc reporting feature, they start you off with a start date, end date, and then a start date, end date for modified. And once you enter those dates, so if you want to search a 5-year period, enter that period, and then you edit it in design mode. Now, this design is actually built on, I believe, a MicroStrategy platform. So if you're familiar with MicroStrategy, Report Builder is going to be very similar to this. But if you look, it's a drag and drop report builder. That being said, I don't find it very intuitive. But if you know how to build some of these business intelligence reports, there are some similarities with other systems. So you'll have your different objects, you have your public objects and your schema objects. Here are some of the different attributes that you can put towards your reporting. This does pretty much cover everything that was in the previous contract data search with Beta.SAM. Does it cover everything we want? I think it's yet to be seen, but you do have your basics, business side, contract dates, funding sources. So you can build out different attributes to your reports and then save those reports down so that you get the information that you need regularly. Again, there's best practices with this as well. Know your search parameters, know what you're looking for. In that way, you should be able to use this fairly efficiently. There's also help resources. The cool thing about the FPDS is they have realized that they do need a lot of training on the reports. So they have report training that takes you from very beginner all the way up through scheduling future reports and things like that of an advanced user. So it is helpful to look through those reporting videos. Again, your local PTAC representative should be able to help, even if it's helping with a workaround at first and then building out the reports so that you're not getting a blip in the information you need. The PTAC is here to assist with that. And then finally, definitely use the feedback button. You know, they really need the feedback from the user community so that they can make the changes that we need in order to make this a usable system. With that being said, I'm going to take you through a quick demo. This will run you through some of the basics that we just looked at in that presentation. This is the Beta.SAM.gov site. And so when you come here, the first thing you're going to see is your basic dropdown, which includes now your assistance listings, which is kind of your grants.gov database, your contract opportunities, which is your FBO, your entity information, which is imported from SAM.gov, not to be confused with Beta.SAM.gov. But that gives you a lot of information on companies from points of contact, DUNS number, cage code, different small business designations, things of that nature. I never really use the federal hierarchy. I don't find it that useful. And then wage determinations, another database. I don't find myself using that often. There's also this sign in button. You'll see when you sign in, you have your login.gov. And I double authenticated just a minute ago. So it won't ask me to do it since I'm on the same browser within a certain amount of time. But this is my workspace. So as you can see, I have my downloads, I have my saved searches, and I have my followed opportunities. I don't think I'm following anything right now. Okay, so I'm following two. But as you can see, it follows by the contract number. This is actually followed by the title, which I haven't seen before, but that is a big GSA IDIQ contract that is coming out for some different flight capabilities. But that is your basic workspace. When I go back to the regular Beta.SAM window, what I usually tend to do is I just click search. I'm not going to use that top bar. But then when you do that, you'll see that this button's already expanded right here. And you can access some small business events. When I click that, as you will see, it puts this really funky 22 in front of that. I don't want that. So really the key here is it's searching your special notices, and then it's just typing in the keyword small business event. So I want small business webinars. And so you'll see there's 2,864 results. But if you look at these results, some of them may be dated. So what I want to do is have my response date set to custom. I'm going to set that to tomorrow. And I'll just leave that open. Always click filter. So we have 136 upcoming events for small businesses. This is an excellent way, especially with the current environment that we're in, to keep yourself up to date on information and what's going on. You'll see that there's SDVO, SB, and Hub Zone outreaches. There's definitely different things that you can attend and keep yourself current with. If you wanted to, you could also come up here. Again, I always change this to place of performance state instead of location. And I can just search in my state to see, okay, is there anything in Ohio going on, even though we probably wouldn't be able to attend it anyway. But there's a interactive wellness and health promotion at the Air Force Installation Contracting Center. So, you know, there's different ways to search Beta.SAM for upcoming events for your small business, and use that to network and to learn more about the different agencies that you want to target. I'll go ahead and clear my filters. And you can just click clear all. Again, provide feedback here. It's important for them to know that what we need for features and benefits as a user base going forward, because there was a lot of changes from the FBO search and the FPDS search that were made when going into this overall integrated award environment. So say I'm I have a general contractor for a client, so he does metal buildings. So you just go in here on your left-hand side. This is where all of your search criteria is going to be. And you can change some of this criteria by changing your filters. I find myself using a small amount of the actual search criteria unless I'm very much being specific about what I'm looking for. But sometimes I just want to know who needs a metal building. You'll see there's 10,247 results for metal buildings. That's too many to look through. So I'm going to go ahead and say, well, industrial buildings is under 236210, industrial building construction. So I will go ahead and put that in as a NAICS, and there, I'm down to 51 results. So what I would do with these results, since I'm signed in, I may want to save the search. And we'll say it's metal buildings with my NAICS code 236210. And I can save that down. Whoop, they don't like the slash. So now that's saved as a search, and I can get those notifications emailed to me whenever there's a change in the search results. But I can also save as new. You could also download your data, but let's go back here to my workspace. Now I have this search, and I want to notify myself. This is how you get the emails of every time that search has changed. But you know what? I want this for Ohio too. So I want to see if there's anything going on in Ohio. And what I'll do here is I just click back on this search. And of course, it wants to be a little bit buggy with me. We will go with it pulled in this. And so once I clear that, I will also have to change the filters again, unfortunately, to place a performance state. And we will see if they have any opportunities in Ohio for metal buildings that are industrial. And they do not. So again, play around with the different search criteria. There's really a lot you can do here, but you just have to be aware of how it interacts with the system. I tend to find myself using keywords a lot more than NAICS codes. But if you want to be very all-encompassing, you can start off, and I'll just go ahead and go back to the basics, back to contract opportunities. Sometimes it's best to just start with your NAICS code and be very vague. So 541611 is your administrative and management consulting. Now again, it's going to search by relevance. So it may not always be the most up-to-date opportunities that you're seeing. But when you search by basic NAICS code, you'll see you usually get a good amount of results. I actually expected more results than that. And then you just make sure that you're setting yourself up with a decent response date. So I want anything 10/29/2020, so that you have a chance to respond to something. Again, you should always target your different RFIs and sources sought first. I don't want to know about the solicitations yet, because if I'm finding a solicitation for the first time on Beta.SAM.gov, that means that I'm way too late to the game. So I definitely want to keep, the RFIs, pre-solicitations, that type of time frame or that type of phase in the overall solicitation. And you'll see there's a couple results here. We got 7 returns. So it's a matter of looking at these opportunities one by one, doing your diligence. And again, it helps when you have a saved search. That way it can email you these links, and you can just go through them from your email inbox. Since this is an RFI, there's not going to be a ton of information there. A quick note to clients: every chance you get to respond to an RFI, take it. It is very much an opportunity to market to the client. It's an opportunity to help shape that acquisition. And there's some great connections and great things you can accomplish with responding to your RFIs. You'll see a primary, secondary point of contact, and basically just your RFI doc is there. But this is something that if I was doing your basic 541611 type of work, I may be interested in this and looking to submit it to the Veterans Affairs. From the contract data piece, when you come into Beta.SAM, you'll see that when you scroll down, you have your different types of databases. What you want to do from your contract data reports is you want to run them. Where this takes you is into the data bank, and you can see there's some static reports, which the COVID-19 report can be fairly helpful. Basically, whenever there is a federal emergency, they do have some different procurement regulations. I believe it's FAR Part 18 that changes some rules, so you can look at the different reporting for that. But other than that, your static reports are your very basic top 100 contractors, small business goaling, that kind of thing. Since I'm signed in, I can see my standard reports. And these go into a little bit more depth. You can look through some of these. I believe there's 30 plus now. And I'm not sure if they're going to create more, move more, or if this is what you have. But there's different things by geographical, vendor location, inherently government functions, local area set-asides. So definitely a lot of different reports there. And then your ad hoc reporting, which is basically your builder report. You're going to go in here, you're going to, create a blank report or use your report builder and then build it based on your specs. But what I find is a better workaround, and I'll show this to you just fairly quickly before I take questions, is going to be the advanced search feature at USA.Spending.gov. Now, I know this is a Beta.SAM.gov presentation, but if you have any interest in learning more about USA.Spending.gov, I tend to use it more than the contract data reporting function. And that's something that I use personally as a workaround. With that being said, I believe I've run through a fair amount of the information, and definitely ready if anybody has any questions, or if if there's anything we want to highlight more and spend more time on.
Billy, there's a couple of questions in the chat. So one of them I think is just a clarification. It's what's happening with the SAM.gov accounts? Are they merging with Beta.SAM accounts?
So whenever you register into SAM.gov, your information is automatically stored in this entity registration. So I will use an example. I'm in entity information right now. I want to search, let's search me. So you just do, the keyword search in the entity information section, I actually think it works great. But you'll see that, I search Rebel Martech. Well, this comes right up. That's me, that's my cage code. This is all my information. This is my core data. So all of your information that you have in SAM is actually in Beta.SAM.gov. Now, you can search SAM.gov for that entity information as well, but it helps if you just, since all of this search is under one roof, I usually just come here since it's easier for me.
Now, do people still do their initial registration through SAM.gov?
Correct, they
Okay.
do. Now, SAM.gov is separate, but it feeds the system. So you'll still go into SAM.gov and register your entity. Now, that being said, if you have any trouble at all, or if you have any confusion, definitely contact your PTAC official or representative. That's something we do every day. We can make sure that you get the right documentation in place before you register for SAM.gov. And I actually have a full presentation on that as well that I send clients to help them prepare, because you do need certain things such as a DUNS number. In order to get that DUNS number, you need certain business information. And in order to register as an entity administrator, you need a notarized letter that you need to send into SAM.gov. So there is some documentation and preparation that goes into getting registered for SAM.gov that the PTAC is here to help you with. We're here to simplify, make life easy, and help you do things efficiently so that we can get you started down that path to hopefully winning some government contracts.
Are people going to be able to register in SAM.gov indefinitely and then have to switch, or when is SAM.gov going to be completely integrated with Beta.SAM? Or actually Beta.SAM is going to go back to SAM, is that correct?
Given that it's a beta, you would expect that, right? They actually also have an alpha SAM that you can do some testing on. That I rarely say that in public because we've already confused everybody as it is. But I do not know the definitive answer to that. Now, I do know that in SAM.gov, they are making some changes in that system as well, such as they're changing your unique identifier from your DUNS number to unique identifying entity number, I believe is what they're calling it. So that change is upcoming within the SAM.gov system, and that's coming up before the end of the year, I believe. No action needed on the contractor's parts yet, but there may be in the future. With the Beta.SAM.gov system currently ingesting these other systems, I would believe that SAM.gov may stay on its own, at least for the immediate future. But I do not know an actual timeline of when that may be ingested. I know that the data is getting ingested now. Do not know when the actual registration would be.
So for now, everyone that's looking to get started with their registration still goes to SAM.gov to get that started.
Correct. This will be your system. And now the similarity is SAM.gov requires a login.gov account as well. So either way, no matter what system you're going to, you'll need to get a login.gov account set up.
Okay. And very good, thank you. Switching hats a little bit, one of our participants asked to explain further on search for Ohio opportunities.
Sure. So what we can actually do, if you come up here up top and just click contract opportunities, because again, I don't find the top keyword search bar to be very useful. But then I'll come down here and I'll click to change my filter because I do want my place of performance to be by state and not zip code. They also have a place of award state. I prefer performance. And then there's a whole host of other criteria that you can start selecting if you know where your contract office is located. Again, the federal organizations, once they get that more minute and granular, it will be helpful, but right now you can only search down to the sub-tier. But then we will go ahead, we'll update this. And if I just want to know every opportunity in the state of Ohio, then I will do this, which is basically just running a state search. And then from there, again, you want to make sure that your response date is from, we'll say 10/29/2020, and I just leave those open-ended because I don't care how far out it's going to be. I just want to know that it's a response date that's manageable for me.
And response date means that you have enough time out that you can actually respond to the solicitation.
Correct. So you can go by, if I'm looking at, say, an event, so if I'm looking for small business events, then I could even go with published date and anytime published within the last month. And sometimes that's helpful because after the GSA gives a webinar for a small business webinar, they'll come back in and they'll say, hey, slides are posted at this location, and they'll update it, but there won't be an actual response date out past the webinar date. So there's different ways you can manipulate this. It really comes down to A, knowing your information and what you're looking for beforehand, and then B, knowing how to manipulate some of these different search criteria. There's been a lot of complaints, unfortunately, that the data that's returned, it's often not, some of it comes back from 2016. There's not a lot of relevance there. So there is some extra steps that you have to take in order to, to get the results that you need out of the system. But I guess the silver lining is once you have that criteria built, you can come right up here and you can save the search, or you can download the search results so that hopefully you can duplicate the search. Again, with we'll go back to the small business events. Where's my button?
You may have talked about this. So I apologize if I'm asking a question that you've already covered, but
Sure.
under FedBiz Ops, clients could set up their own bid match searches. Can they do that in here? Is it fairly user friendly to do that, or is that through the report builder?
Their own bid match searches. Can you clarify?
Well, it was My FBO. It was called My FBO, and they could go in and create an account and then get like they could choose like sources sought notifications or requests for information, and then get those delivered to them via email.
So what happens here is you pick your, so we'll go and we want all of our sources sought and we want our pre-solicitations. And we'll do this under, we'll go 541611 again and just do a general search. And so when you're doing this search, you'll see you have 282 results, followed by last updated. And I haven't done any of the custom dates for the response. But once this happens, what I'll go up here and I'll do is I'll save this search to custom, if I could spell today, custom search for admin consultant. And then once I save that search, what I have to go back and do is go into my workspace. When I'm in my workspace, you'll see the option for save searches here. Now, save searches, you can have a ton of them. And I usually have a couple of demos and then a couple ones that I actually use. But the actions button right here under your save search, you go to notify. And that notify is similar to the My FBO function of sending you an email of results. Now,
Boy, that's not intuitive, is it?
oh no. Yes, we are building a watch here. Once you notify yourself, you can receive emails that the search has changed. Now, here's the issue. With My FBO, it sends you the opportunities in your email inbox. With the new Beta.SAM.gov, it sends you a link to the updated search. So
you
you're
just
not
get an email with a link in it?
correct that the search results have changed and they've been updated. Now, when you're looking at, you get similar notifications when you follow an opportunity. So when I'm following an opportunity, you can see that I can get emails, but with following an opportunity, I can set the frequency of the emails. So of course, I want to get immediate notification if something changes on an opportunity that I'm following. But they have the daily, weekly, and then no emails set up for that. They do not have that same capability for the save search emails in your workspace. When the search is updated, you get the email in your inbox and you get the link back to start looking through those search results again.
Well, I mean, it's just going to take some adjustment.
And that's also, I mean, if we want our My FBO back, which is, by the way, was a industry rally cry when they moved this over to Beta.SAM.
Yeah.
There was a lot of, almost like Braveheart. They were, you won't take our FBO.
Well, it was actually useful. I mean, it's like they take the useful things away and leave the
not so useful things.
Yes, the not so useful things.
And I always stress, provide that feedback. If 800,000 people emailed the IAE and said, we want our FBO back, and we want that capability, hopefully it starts making a difference. I know that there's there's a lot of workarounds that I use every day with the system. For example, when I'm searching for different opportunities out of different organizations, I'm using their acronyms. If I'm looking at the counter unmanned aerial systems from the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, I'm putting in CUAS.DTRA and using their acronyms as a way to narrow down those results automatically, because I know those acronyms will show up in the opportunities that they're posting. And that is, it comes down to knowing the client to a certain extent to try to use those workarounds. But if you're a new company and you're just starting out and this is your market research tool and this is your lifeline to start looking at government opportunities, highly suggest contacting your local PTAC representative, because we have some additional tools. We have some different tips and tricks. I wouldn't wish this on a beginner at this point, because I could see how this would be a turnoff to doing business with the government. It's very unfortunate, but it's the system that they've flipped the switch on FBO. The FBO is dark, the lights are off. So this is the data source that we have. The better we can use the system and the better we can give them feedback, I think with time it will get better. I hope with time it will get better.
So a couple of comments. Can we get a copy of the slides? The slides will become available on the Ohio Business Matchmaker website within 48 hours after this presentation, as will the recorded version of this. So yes, you'll be able to get a copy of the slides. Now, there was a lot of live demonstration with this, so some of the slides won't match the presentation exactly.
Sure.
And just kind of another comment, from my understanding and what you've said, Billy, the more information you have to bring to a search, the better. So in terms of where you get the information for your searches, you can search by your primary NAICS code. You can search by place of performance, which I think was really good, doing that Ohio search, so that you can see what's available in Ohio. But if you know what's available in Ohio, and then you can specify like a NAICS code, which you can pull from your SAM registration. Say your primary code is construction. Could they do a place of performance in Ohio and then search by 236220?
If you type in just keywords into the NAICS code, that comes up as well. So that's a little tip. You don't necessarily have to know your NAICS code, but definitely know your keywords.
All right, that's also good, especially for our new users.
Yes, and so I'm just doing a broad 23, which is all construction, which is a very broad NAICS. It's a two number NAICS. So we're going to do that in Ohio. And you will see that there's 130 construction projects in Ohio. Now, if you look at this, make sure you pay attention to the dates on the right-hand side, because there have been instances where you see opportunities from as far back as 2016. I think they've got enough feedback on that, though, that I think that problem has been mitigated a bit. So yes.
That's always been confusing. Even with FBO, they would have response dates that were years old.
Yes,
So
yes.
I don't know why those aren't archived.
And that's another thing. You definitely want to make sure that this active only box is checked when you're looking at opportunities, unless you do want the dated opportunity information for some reasons. But definitely keep that checked, and then start up big. That's kind of, I always like to say, get to the Goldilocks mix. You don't want to have 300,000 opportunities on every search, but you don't want to have zero. So you want to get that right mix of, okay, this is manageable. It's not too vague, not too specific, but it's something that I can sink my teeth into. and start building that pipeline of opportunities to potentially respond to.
So if they see this and they're like, ooh, I could do this in Portsmouth, and it's a, what is this? What notice type is it?
It looks like it is
A related notice.
pre-solicitation.
Okay, so they could save that and then get notifications of when it changes to the full solicitation.
Right. So what you would want to do is you want to follow this, and then it automatically follows it, and you'll automatically see it in your workspace. And then when I go to my workspace, just because you want to double check to make sure it's there, you go to your following opportunities, and you'll see it doesn't sort it by title. So I have to pick, I believe, this one since it was a pre-solicitation.
You're not going to remember that really off the top. That was W916723877.
Right. If we had robotic memory, then maybe. But in that, it does become sort of tedious. I was able to pick that one out because the other one I was following from the U.S. Army was it was a source of thought. This was a pre-solicitation. But you'll see that, okay, so it is actually in my workspace. And then when I go back, I just want to make sure that I'm getting the emails, immediate frequency, which is good. I'm following. I can also mark myself as an interested entity here in my workspace, or I can do it on the opportunity page. So if I do that, it just says, are you sure you want to change? I do. So now I'm an interested entity, and it will still email me immediately when the opportunity is changed.
So by being an interested entity, is your information published to other people that are interested entities? Because that used to be what it was on FBO.
Correct. It's the same interested vendors list that you can click on. Now, again, another warning for some of the newer users there. Your interested vendors list will have a lot of people that are sometimes just fishing for potential teammates or potential opportunity. Sometimes they're actually going to try to tell you that they can help you develop the opportunity and then try to charge you funds for that. There's definitely different types of folks on that interested entities list. If you're an incumbent, or if you know about the opportunity before the RFI even comes out, then chances are you will not see those entities on that list because they don't want people to be able to do market research on them, competitive intelligence research before the opportunity comes out.
Where can they say, like from here, if I wanted to see who else clicked themselves as an interested entity, okay, I just clicked on that.
You should click on this, and then here's your interested vendors list right here on your left.
Okay.
And let's see if it has anybody. Okay, so Bremen Construction Corporation. Now, this is a good example of a company that may not know the client because they're based out of Pennsylvania, but it looks like Bremen, just by their name, they have some decent quals in construction. So this may be actually a good company to reach out to say, hey, I'm lacking the big general contracting qualifications, but I know the client a little bit. So do you maybe want to team up and tackle it that way?
And then you can look for subcontracting opportunities. You can reach out to them because if most of the time the SAM registrations for companies that are listed on interested vendor, they have the business development professionals listed in SAM or the owners. So you can send them their capability statement.
Exactly. And there is helpful. They've got the NAICS classifications down here that's expandable. I think that's a nice little feature.
Business. Yeah, it says they're not small, so you know right away.
Exactly. And then there's their contacts right there. So it's a good tool for beginning companies to build relationships. It's a good tool if maybe the client is a bit out of your regular purview. So it's definitely useful. You just have to realize that there's not going to be everybody bidding on the opportunity listed here. So it's always good to know that.
There was a request, well, and Abby, this is for you. It said, well, and for all of us, that it's saying that the slides aren't currently on the Matchmaker website, just the recordings. But I also saw that Sharon sent out her email in case you wanted a copy of the slides, you can email her to get them. I know the intent is to get the slides on the Matchmaker website as well, so we'll look into that. Thank you for noticing that, Sarah.
Here's my contact as well. If anybody needs anything or has any questions and wants to reach out, more than happy to help. So I can always send you a copy of the slides as well.
Very good. There was also, can you show us the download search feature?
Sure, sure. Okay, so when you're looking at, we'll go to, just set up another search really quick. And sorry, I'm a little erratic with my mouse because I keep having to move my Zoom screen a little bit to get to some of these. So we'll just pull on a download search just from this. And so you can see you can download into a CSV or a PDF. If you're going to sort the data and look through everything, your CSV is going to be your best bet. And then you just name the file. And then once you click the file type, you can name the file. You can also add this to your saved searches after you download it. But then when you download it, it just pulls up an Excel spreadsheet of all of the information. And I'll see this file type may be a little large to download fairly quickly. But if it pops up soon, I can pull it up and then show you what that file looks like. We'll do a new share. So this is basically what you're going to end up looking like when you do that download. As you can see, it's got your title, it's got description, all of your modification. Basically, it's got everything that was in the top quadrant of the opportunity description. So you have your NAICS, your PSCs, any modifications, your set-asides, your basic information. And of course, you can sort this one by title. So that's helpful.
Hopefully, Chris, that answered the question. It's a lot of data. That's a lot of data.
It is. You know, usually what I tend to do is the only reason I'm downloading my search results is if I want to quickly sort out different things that I know I'm looking at specifically. So it's when I'm looking at an opportunity specific to marketing out of an organization that I don't want to go and just kind of scroll through all the search results online. I just pull it down, do a quick sort, and I can usually find that pretty easily.
All right, well, that looks like all the questions that are in the chat right now. Oh, what is a set-aside?
Ah, okay. Do you want to take that, Joe? I think you should take that, Joe, because that is definitely your wheelhouse.
Sure. So when a business is considering doing business with the federal government, there are certain dollars that are set aside for small business, federal dollars. So 23% of all business at the federal government is set aside for small business. That means that only small businesses can compete for those federal dollars. So we get asked a lot at the SBA, for example, if a business isn't necessarily a part or can't qualify for the other small business programs like 8A or HubZone or Woman Owned, is there still opportunities for them? And yes, there are. Like that, the 23% of all contracts are set aside for small business. So within that 23%, SBA has small business contracting programs. So one of them is the HubZone program, which stands for the Historically Underutilized Business Zone. It's a 3% set aside, meaning 3% of the federal spend needs to go to HubZone companies. There's 5% for woman-owned small business. 5% of the federal spend needs to go to woman-owned small business is what that means. And then 8A is a socially and economically disadvantaged business development program that the SBA is responsible for implementing, and anytime there's a regulation change or a change to the program at Congress, SBA is responsible for publishing those changes and managing those changes. So that's a 5% set aside, and then there's a service disabled veteran-owned small business program as well. So we at the SBA district office are getting our schedule for fiscal year 21 put together, and we will be doing several trainings on SBA small business programs. But a set aside means that a certain amount of federal dollars have been set aside for these small business categories. Right. Hopefully that answered your question. Another thing that I want to mention, because we get asked this a lot, is does the SBA issue small business certifications? No, the SBA does not issue small business certifications. When a company registers their business in the system for award management, the person filling out the registration needs to put in the 3-year revenue of their business, which is the gross receipt line item in the tax return, or the number of employees, or both actually. But the system for award management, based on the information you put in from the taxes, the tax information that you have for your business, it will self-certify you as small or large. Say, for example, construction, the 236220 NAICS code has a size standard of, I think it's 38.5 million now. So what that means is that if that's your primary industry, if that's where the majority of your income is coming from, over a 3 or 5 year period, the Small Business Runway Act of January 2020 increased size standards to a 5-year average instead of a 3-year. So as long as over 5 years, like you would take your taxes from 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, write them out, add them up, and divide by 5, as long as your business is under that 38.5 million, the SBA would consider you small. But it's a self-certification. And the only time it's ever questioned is during protest. So the SBA does not take, like if someone from the public doesn't believe that a business is small, that member of the public would have to be like an interested party on a proposal in order for the SBA to actually do a size determination. So I'm getting a little technical. I don't want to go into the technical trench, but hopefully that helped to answer the question.
As well as other self-certifications you can do through SAM, minority owned and
yes,
Alaskan owned and
well, woman owned is changing, so that's one of the
yes.
things that we'll be talking about here soon, because SBA used to do a self-certification for woman owned, but the National Defense Authorization Act of 2015 said to the SBA, okay, SBA, you need to start certifying woman-owned small businesses. You're not going to do the self-certification anymore. So that was in 2015. It took the SBA 5 years, but now as of October 15th, 2020, so this just happened. Like we're on the 7th day of this. SBA is now issuing decisions on woman-owned, which means that they are doing certifications. Now, if you're a woman-owned small business that used a third-party certifier, which is still allowed, your third-party certification is still valid. I know enough to be dangerous on this topic, but I don't want to go into too much more because there's a lot I still need to learn before I can talk intelligently about it. But
That was pretty intelligent.
well, if you go to certify.FBA.gov, that is SBA's platform for 8A application, the All Small Mentor Protege Program, and woman-owned. They have a beta woman-owned small business site that has all of the information about the changes for woman-owned. So you can also email me. I'll put my email address in the chat box. If you have any questions about small business programs, any of them, small, woman-owned, hub zone, service disabled, or 8A.
Perfect.
All right. Well, I really appreciate your time, Billy. I don't see any other questions coming through right now.
Yeah, it's usually fairly short and sweet. Yeah, again, it's once you know the search criteria, how to manipulate that based on your needs, it does become a manageable system. Another great takeaway though is the Ohio PTAC has a great bid match email system, which actually searches Beta.SAM and state and local databases and sends you an email of opportunities every day. So if you really don't want to deal, even if you do like Beta.SAM, these bid match emails are really useful for getting opportunities outside of that database. A main takeaway, contact your local PTAC. We'll help get you set up and make sure that you're not missing any of these opportunities that may be coming out.
In practice, I mean, as you have time, practice, I'm not sure it'll get easier. It'll get better, but it just takes some practice.
It does. It takes some tips and tricks, kind of knowing how to manipulate the data. Yeah, they are constantly making changes to the system. So definitely keep up to date on what's going on if you use it regularly. If you don't use it as regularly, probably not as important. But then when you run into any issues, that is the one kind of bright side of this system is the Federal Service Desk is there to help with these issues. In their number, you can actually call them to speak to a person. You can send them a chat. They're very, very helpful. And they've seen it all. They've had every question come in about this system that I could probably imagine.
And they answer the phone.
They do. It's a real person on the other line. So whether it's SAM.gov and you're registering or Beta.SAM.gov and you're searching, the Federal Service Desk is a great resource.
You know the number off the top of your head?
I can grab it real quick. It's
because I'll put it in the
saved
chat.
in my my computer by now.
I can try and look it up too.
It is 866. I'll put it in the chat real quick for everybody.
I've got it. I'm typing it in.
Oh, okay. Beat me to the punch. But yeah, definitely very helpful.
Oh no, I got the 866. What's the rest of it?
Oh, it's here you go.
Oh, there you go. Okay, very good. You got it.
Yeah, definitely a helpful organization, helpful resource. A lot of times we will walk you through talking to the Federal Service Desk with you, just in case you don't know what to ask or you don't know how to go about things. But if you get stuck on SAM.gov or Beta.SAM.gov, feel free to reach out to them, reach out to your local PTAC. Just know that you have resources available to you that can help. Neither of us charge anything for our time, and our mission is help small businesses grow and do great things with the government. So I think yeah, it's very much within line with that.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. I feel like I learn something every time I listen to this presentation. I
It
want to mention,
changes every time you listen to the presentation, I think.
those of you that don't know, our next webinar is on October 29th at 10, and it is, no, it's not. I just lied. It's on the
27?
27th. Yes, from 10 to 12, a capability statement training. So you can go to the Ohio Business Matchmaker website. If you haven't registered for that webinar, you can go ahead and do that. That will give you kind of a baseline on developing a marketing piece to help get you ready for the matchmaker. And then on October 29th, we're doing a marketing to the government with Rich Delicio from the Akron PTAC. So those are, and then we actually have, starting in November, is our Doing Business With webinars. So we'll have some of the federal agencies that are going to be at the matchmaker will be doing a general Doing Business With webinar regarding their agencies. It's not just federal either, because we also have the state of Ohio that's presenting, the National Guard. Well, anyway, but the full listing of the webinars, it's on the Ohio Business Matchmaker website. But all right, I think that we can conclude with that. Do you have any last words, Billy, for today?
No, I appreciate everybody taking the time. I hope you learned something. And I thoroughly enjoy running through this presentation. And I welcome any questions and anybody that needs help. You know, feel free to contact me anytime.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate
We
it.
got to thank you for sharing your pro tips with us. Great job, Billy. I'm sure you can see the chat. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate
All
it.
right, have a good day.
You too. Take care, everybody.
All right.